and surgery is difficult. So the risk factors are demographic factors, like advanced age, female gender, if you're fat, in different parts like Indian subcontinent, typically not South India, but the Indian, North Indian cow belt, and we are also part of that. And Caucasian, Southwestern, Native Americans, Mexicans, and Americans have got more. And there is a certain amount of genetic predisposition. Presence of gallbladder, long period inflammation is associated with carcinoma gallbladder. Is gallbladder polyps, especially when they are increasing in size with time or they are more than 10 millimeters. Porcelain gallbladders, you remember gallbladder polyps, you have to do 6 monthly ultrasound and then annually. If they increase in size or more than 10 millimeter, then you have to operate. Otherwise, you can follow. About 93% of the gallbladder polyps do not increase in size, and therefore you don't need to operate. In patients with congenital biliary cyst like choledochal cyst, pancreaticobiliary maljunction and junction abnormalities, when there is exposure to heavy metals, not the music variety, medications like methyl dopa, OCP, isoniazid, and estrogen, and if you are a smoker. Chronic infections in the same by salmonella or helicobacter also lead to increased chances. Now, fundus is the most common site of occurrence of the malignancy. This is in accordance with the size of the fundus compared to the body and the neck. Basically, there might be local invasion of the liver or other nearby structures. There is lymphatic dissemination, peritoneal split, and hematogenous spread. Direct extension of the gallbladder cancer typically involves the segment 4B and 5 of the liver. 4B is the anterior portion of the segment 4. Duodenum, colon, parietal wall, and or abdominal other viscera. Hepatic metastasis is often the direct result of direct liver and portal tract invasion. Portal tract invasion can be the result of a lymphatic spread. There are a lot of genetic factors that I've just put, but I don't think this do much. When you stage, basically mucosa is involved in stage 1 of Nevin's staging. 2 invades the mucosa and the muscularis. This refers to T2 in the TNM classification. T3 is when the mucosa, muscularis, and subserosa are involved. T4 when in this tumor involves all 3 layers of the gallbladder plus cystic lymph node, but here T4 is when tumor involves other organs also. And 5 is tumor extension to the liver bed or metastasis. From this, the TNM staging came into being. The lamina propria, the muscularis T1AB, perimuscular connective tissue invading liver or other organs T3. T4 is invading main portal vein, hepatic artery, or true extrahepatic structures. N1, it used to be nodes around the cystic duct, the common bile duct, and the hepatic artery or the portal vein. N2 is aortocaval, SMA, or celiac nodes. Now, this has been changed into the latest classification when N1 is up to 3 lymph nodes identified and N2 is 4 or more lymph nodes identified. The stations are no longer valid. M1 obviously is metastasis, MX is no known metastasis, M0 is no metastasis. So basically, the first investigation of choice is an ultrasound. This is operator dependent. Endoscopic ultrasound helps in lymph node staging, especially when you are suspecting aortocaval lymph nodes or para-aortic lymph nodes. CT abdomen is used to stage. The problem is CT abdomen cannot differentiate a lot of times between T1 and T2 disease. Usually, MRCP is usually for when common bile duct is involved. MRI, again, it's good with liver staging, but otherwise problematic.
मुंह में क्या लगा उसका? उसका भारी हो जाता है. कौन लगाएगा?
Hello, can I have radio silence, please? If you want to make conversation, talk to me. Who's that? Okay. MRI with MRC. If you want to talk, please converse with me. ERCP is usually used for palliation when there is involvement of a common bile duct because of the lymph node or contiguous invasion. FDG PET scan helps to identify distant metastasis. In these patients, because distant peritoneal metastases are usually missed on CT scan, they help you. Percutaneous fine needle cytology should only be done when the patient is inoperable. You stage the disease, the CT shows, the MRI shows that the malignancy has spread, it is inoperable. So to give chemotherapy and for palliation, you might need a diagnosis. In only those cases. The problem is when you do a percutaneous fine needle cytology in carcinoma gallbladder, there is a seeding on the needle track. So these are photographs. Can you see the CT scan? You see the MRI. This is the MRI. This is the CT scan. And this is the PET scan showing metastasis. So T1A is a simple cholecystectomy of 100-year, 5-year survival is seen. T1B, remember the muscularis propria, it's controversial. There are contradictory statements. Up to 20% might have lymph node involvement. Therefore, it is better to resect. T2, radical cholecystectomy, which means a 2 centimeter wedge resection of the liver or segment 4B5, along with the gallbladder and the lymph node in the common bile duct, the periportal lymph nodes, and the retroduodenal lymph nodes, and lymph nodes up to the celiac plexus along the portal vein, the common hepatic artery. T3-4 require extended lymph resections, right extended hepatectomy, resection of the additional organs. T3 tumors, stomach, colon involvement. If resection is possible, please do so because 30 to 40% 5-year survival. CPT excision should be done if you are not sure if the stump comes positive. In very fat patients, when there is a lymph node dissection is a difficulty, or when there is extensive lymph node dissection and you are worried that your lymph node dissection is not adequate. Most of them are adeno-CA, but a lot of varieties. There's a papillary, mucinous, signet ring. These are all varieties of adenosquamous is a especially aggressive variety of adenocarcinoma. There have been squamous cell, neuroendocrine, and small cell reported. We have ourselves reported from Nepal Medical College signet cell variety of adenocarcinoma in the carcinoma gallbladder. It's been published. Then sometimes there are undifferentiated carcinomas where you are not able to identify what it is, and you have to send for a immunohistochemistry. If surgery, remember what are the surgeries? Radical cholecystectomy or extended cholecystectomy, which means you take out the gallbladder along with a 2 centimeter rim of the liver bed on the gallbladder's Morrison pouch, or segment 4B and 5. There is no studies. Studies show that whether you do a 2 centimeter margin resection or a 4B5, the outcomes are similar, along with the lymph nodes in the pericholedochal lymph nodes, periportal lymph nodes, and the perihilar lymph nodes, the retroduodenal lymph nodes, and lymph nodes along the common hepatic artery. Okay, this is the standard surgery. If or after the surgery, if it's localized disease more than T1, T1 just requires follow-up. T2 or more, you have to give adjuvant chemotherapy or radiotherapy to the bed if you feel like, for example, the node is positive. If it is locally advanced, then gemcitabine chemotherapy plus minus radiotherapy is given. And for advanced disease, gemcitabine chemotherapy. Now, these are for the palliative. Therefore, because chemotherapy does not work very well in carcinoma gallbladder, and even radiotherapy is in the initial stages. It's only in the last 5-10 years that they have started using. So, palliation is ERCP and stenting is the best palliation because of obstructive jaundice. Bile drains inside. Sometimes it's not feasible because the common bile duct is pretty bad damaged. Then you do PTBD. What is PTBD? A percutaneous transbiliary stenting. Sometimes the duodenum is involved and the patient presents with gastric outlet obstruction. Then you do a duodenal stenting. Operative bypass is largely outdated during periods when the stenting and PTBD were not widely prevalent. The expertise was not available. We used to do it. Even I used to do it about 10-15 years back. I remember doing a lot of patients doing hepaticojejunostomy and a bypass so that the patient jaundice could be relieved. But that was because I was working in Dharan and ERCP and stenting was not available at the time. But these days, luckily, we have our radiologists do a PTBD or a ERCP and stenting by gastroenterologists. Thank you.